Ceasar Chevalier, Senior Vice President here at Foleon. I lead our global sales team and Executive Chair of our GTM tribe.
How do you see the current economy? What kind of shifts have you noticed? What do you see happening?
It's an interesting one, right? Because on one hand, you see jobs being cut, which makes people nervous. But then there are also tens of thousands of jobs in the same sector that are open. So I think that probably more than anything, it's probably a right sizing of times and industry really is what it is. I think that when money's free, people can kind of spend wherever they want to spend. But when money is no longer free and the interest rates rise, then people have to be a bit more intelligent with where they're placing bets and how they're spending money. And I think that's what we're seeing now is lots of organizations that are saying, hey, yeah, money isn't going to roll in like it did previously, which maybe it shouldn't have to begin with anyway, right? And so how do we make sure we're optimizing spend and being smart about it? And they're making cuts that maybe were just bets that were too big.
Talked about this a little bit more in a recent article where you argued that tech could be your best investment bet in kind of uncertain times. Could you summarize your main thought process behind that?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think that one of the things I feel strongly about when running a business or even your own finances is, avoiding false economies. And so one of those false economies is, oh yeah, technology is a big cost center. Let's cut that. But in many cases, technology enables you to optimize efficiency in your business. And so as I look at the business and I look at, and we're no different, right? We've got investors who are looking to move every organization towards a path of profitability. And so for us, yeah, obviously we have to make sure we optimize our costs, but we also have to make sure that in doing so, that we're getting the most of our people, our process, and our systems. And technology will always enable that if you buy the right technology and if you focus on doing the right things with it. So that's a bit of the short version of that article.
Yeah, I think that's a big key that maybe people tend to miss out on is even if they buy the right technology, right, they don't necessarily use it in the right way or get the right processes behind it. And that can often lead people to believing that that investment was the wrong one. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions behind that on how to better implement new technologies?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my background's a bit in enterprise technology, and one of the things I would share with new customers is kind of my intro when I was playing consultant on TV, is the idea that change management is always the biggest thing with technology that you have to always the biggest challenge to overcome, so to speak. And so yeah, I'd say that before you go out and run and buy technology, really be sure to consider how you're going to implement that. Be sure to consider that what problem you're solving, and make sure that everyone who would use the technology or benefit from it actually understands the problem that you're trying to solve, which seems really silly to say out loud, but isn't always the case. When people buy technology, most people buy it as a panacea to solve a problem without considering actually, well, what is the problem we have to solve? And is everyone aligned that that's the problem that we're trying to solve? And so I'd say that's where you start. You leave out on the other side.
That's a good one. I think a lot of times you see that kind of maybe the champion or the champion's team, kind of the main person buying the technology has a really clear understanding of that. And they indeed skip that step. And then it trickles down and other people in the organization like, okay, there's this new tool. Great. But yeah, if you don't understand why you have it, you miss that important part of implementation. I'm curious, what have been, as things have kind of shifted in the market, do you already have any big learnings, or have you had any sort of, it's cliche, but have you had any kind of aha moments as things have started to shift?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'd say that I wouldn't say I've had any big aha moments because I tend to be a very kind of a ear to the ground operator anyway. It's how I've always been. But I would say that there's lots of lessons you can learn from your network. One of the things I advocate all the time, and I advocate in the article, is that not trying to go it alone. There's so many people that are in the same situation as your organization probably is at any moment, right? And so instead of trying to figure everything out, and usually you're figuring out something that's already been figured out because it's years have passed, right? Not the first people to do this. And so I'd say, biggest learning I'd say is use your network, talk to people, talk to your colleagues, talk to your friends, talk to people that are in your role outside of your organization, and get a sense of how they're responding and how they're doing. And I think that you'll find that if you're just listening to noise from the outside, things can seem quite dire. But take the time to meet with your peers that might work with other organizations, and I think try and get a bit of a feel for what people in the role are actually going through, and not just the noise that you hear from sensationalist articles and things of that nature. So,
Do you have any predictions? Anything you think is bound to happen?
Oh, that's an interesting one. It's so hard to say, right? Because I think the interesting thing about the situation we're in is how unpredictable it is. We've got all of these conflicting signals about the economy, where things are, yeah, things look really good. Things are, oh, this is really dire. The market's up and down. So I'd say that anyone predicting what's going to happen next at this time is probably people predicting cryptocurrency. Say that it's hard to predict, right? But I'd say, again, keep your ear to the ground, work your network, work with your peers, and really just, be sensible in how you operate. And, as long as you understand, kind of what people are looking for. And in this market, obviously, again, when money isn't free and investors want to invest what they've invested and not give away more money to the same, cause, everyone's going to care about operational efficiency. And so I'd say that that's always going to be here to stay. And even in waves where things are like, oh, money's free, I'd say the prediction, if it is one, is, hey, remember that operational efficiency is always in vogue. Everyone always wants to make sure that you're spending money wisely, right? And those that can understand that and put their efforts in investment in things like revenue operations, that's what pays dividends. And that's the stuff that great companies are made of. And so not so much prediction as much as hey, here's some free advice for you. And so, yeah.